The colony woke to a shadow that did not belong to clouds. It passed across the fields and the river and the hangars in one slow sweep. Captain Daniel Cross stood on the perimeter wall and watched the sky turn hard and metallic. The first missiles never came. Instead, sleek ships slid out of the shadow and folded open like knives. Everyone had heard the stories about Illyrians. No one believed them until now.com said died in a flat burst. The warning sirens cut off halfway through their first wail. Daniel's headset filled with static, then silence. He ran down the wall steps and into the yard, waving his arms toward the cargo trams. "Load the kids first," he shouted. "Keep lines tight. Move." His voice sounded too calm in his own ears. Calm kept people alive. Panic did the opposite. A silver shape dropped into the yard and unfolded into 3 tall figures. Their skin was pale as frost. Their eyes were a clear, cold silver that did not blink. Illyrians were no obvious armor. They did not need it. Everyone knew their weapon lived inside their skulls. The nearest one stared at a security guard. The guard's rifle lowered slowly against his will. He fell to his knees like a puppet with strings cut. Daniel fired to draw their attention, not to win. The bolt splashed across a shimmer he could not see and left a scorch on the wall. He backed toward the tram bay, counting heartbeats. "Go," he told a young tech clutching a child. "Don't look back." A drone dropped through the broken roof and poured a net of light over Daniel's chest. The world snapped whiten, then returned in a narrow ring. He woke strapped to a chair in a room that smelled like cold metal and clean glass. Lights hummed in the walls. There was no sound from engines, only the steady breath of a machine larger than any city he had ever seen. A door hissed. A woman stepped in with the slow certainty of someone who had never been told no. She was tall, slender, and still. Silver eyes, silver circlet, silver threads along a simple robe. "I am Serenia," she said, "Princess of the Illyrian Empire." Her voice was soft and exact. "You are Captain Daniel Cross of the Human Defense Line. You are alive because I want to study you." "Lucky me," he said. His mouth was dry. He swallowed and kept his face straight. "If you're here to talk, unstrap me. If you're here to kill me, make it fast." "Neither," she said. She took the chair opposite him and folded her hands. "We do not kill when a lesson is possible. We also do not negotiate with minds that are still their own. We improve them first." She looked almost bored as she said it, like a teacher reciting a rule. Daniel met her eyes and refused to look away. "Improve means control. Control means peace," she answered. "Your kind confuses freedom with noise." She tilted her head. "You have heard of our bond." "Everyone has," he said. "You press, we break." "For most," she agreed. "It is simple. You will relax, you will listen. You will accept." She leaned forward just enough for the light to catch the sharp line of her cheek. "If you do, there will be no pain." He smiled without humor. "I'll risk the pain." The temperature did not change, but the room felt colder. She did not touch him. She did not need to. Something pressed against his thoughts like a deep ocean rolling over sand. It was steady, patient, endless. He had expected a scream. What came instead was a wait. "Breathe," Serenia said, and somehow the word echoed inside his head as well as in the air. He pulled his breath in through his nose and let it out through his teeth. He tried to think of numbers. Numbers slid away like beads in oil. The pressure grew. His vision narrowed to a tunnel, then to a point of light. He felt anger rise, but anger had no edges here. He needed something else. He reached for a picture more solid than anger. Rain on a tin roof, the soft thrum on summer nights at home. Hot tea on a wooden table. His father's rough hand on his shoulder the day he left for service. The weight pressed harder. The point of light shook. He held the rain. He held the tea. He heard his father say, "Steady, son," and he believed it. The pressure slid and found no purchase. It came back sharper, like ice under the skin. He gritted his teeth until his jaw hurt, and he held the sound of the rain even tighter. Serenia's eyes narrowed. A faint line creased between her brows. "Yield," she said. The voice in his head repeated it, calm and absolute. He tasted metal. He did not answer. He could not move, but he refused to let that voice choose his shape. The pressure rose again, then fell, then rose, testing him from new angles, looking for a seam. Time had no meaning in that room. When the pressure finally eased, Daniel was shaking and slick with sweat. The straps cut into his wrists. He blinked hard to clear the blur. Serenia sat very still. Only her eyes moved, studying him like a puzzle piece that did not fit. "That was unexpected," she said at last. Daniel found a laugh from somewhere and pushed it out. "I get that a lot. No one resists without training," she murmured. The calm in her voice had thinned. "No one resists me." She rose from her chair and circled behind him. He felt the air move as she passed. "Again," she said. The weight crashed back before he could gather himself. He yelled, short and raw, then clamped his teeth shut. The rain was not enough this time. He reached deeper. A dirty soccer ball in a dusty street. His sister's triumphant shout when she scored. The way his mother would cover a laugh with the back of her hand. Simple things held like anchors. The weight tore at them and could not rip them free. Serenia stepped back, breath a fraction faster. She looked down at her own hands as if checking they were still there. Daniel saw the smallest tremor run across her fingers before it stopped. The tremor pleased him more than it should have. He did not let it show. "You will be taken to a cell," she said. "You will eat, you will sleep. Tomorrow we will continue." "Tomorrow I resist again," he answered. Her mouth tilted a hair. Not a smile and not a frown. "We will see." She touched a plate on the wall. The straps released with a hiss. 2 guards entered, tall and blank-eyed. Daniel pushed himself up and found his legs heavy, but working. As they let him out, he looked back once. Serenia stood alone in the center of the room with her head bent, as if listening to a sound he could not hear. For a heartbeat, she did not look like a queen. She looked like a person trying to understand a new word. The cell was clean and small. A bunk, a sink, a blue light that pretended to be night. Daniel lay down and stared at the ceiling. His skull throbbed in dull waves. He breathed with the pain and let the fake night wash over him. He pictured rain and a tin roof and a wooden table and a promise he had made to himself a long time ago to never bow to a bully. Somewhere above him the ship turned. Somewhere below, the colony he had tried to save counted its losses. War had started without a shot he could hear. It was not tanks on a road. It was not ships in a line. It was a stranger in a quiet room pressing her will into his head and finding, for the first time, that a human mind did not open. The cell light shifted from dim blue to bright white. Morning, or at least what the Illyrians pretended was morning. Daniel sat up slowly, rubbing his temples. The pain in his head felt like nails tapping against bone. He had survived the night, but sleep brought no peace. Every time he closed his eyes, he felt her voice echo again. "Yield, yield, yield." The door hissed open. 2 guards entered, their faces expressionless. "Come," one said. Daniel rose without a fight. His legs were stiff, but his back stayed straight. He would not shuffle like a beaten man. They led him down long corridors, silent except for the hum of the ship. Illyrians moved past them in silver robes or armor, every one of them carrying the same air of superiority. None looked at him with curiosity. They looked through him as if he were already claimed property. At the end of the hall, the door slid aside, revealing the same chamber as yesterday. The chair waited in the center. Serenia was already there, standing with her hands folded, her silver eyes cool and unreadable. She looked as calm as before, but Daniel noticed her fingers. For half a second, they twitched before she clasped them tight. "Captain Cross," she said evenly, "you survived." "I'm stubborn like that," he muttered. Her gaze sharpened. "We begin again." He allowed the guards to strap him down. The metal bit into his wrists and ankles. Serenia dismissed them with a flick of her hand. When the door sealed shut, the chamber grew silent. This time she did not waste words. Her eyes locked onto his, and the weight slammed into his skull. Daniel hissed between his teeth. The ocean returned, heavier, deeper. He tried to hold the sound of rain, but it slid away under the force. He clenched his jaw and pushed back with every scrap of will he had. Images rose in his mind, his sister's laugh, his father's voice, Earth's blue skies. He shoved them forward, not as shields but as anchors. The pressure pressed harder, crushing, twisting. Then something unexpected happened. For a split second, his mind slipped past the wall she had built. He saw a flash, not his own memory, but hers. A young Serenia, barely more than a child, standing in a vast hall of silver stone. Voices thundered above her, elders speaking words she could not argue. "You will rule. You will not falter. You will not feel." The child's hands trembled, but her face remained frozen. The vision vanished in a blink, leaving Daniel gasping. Serenia staggered back a step, eyes wide. Her breath caught. "No," she whispered. "You did not." Daniel's head pounded, but he managed a shaky grin. "I saw something." Her eyes flashed with sudden rage. "You touched my mind." "I didn't mean to," he said through clenched teeth. "But you came at me hard." "And I pushed back." Her composure cracked. The calm mask trembled at the edges. For the first time, her pride looked uncertain. "Impossible. You are untrained. A human cannot invade an Illyrian's mind." Daniel leaned forward as much as the straps allowed. "Then maybe your people don't know humans as well as you think." Her hands curled into fists. She circled him, her robe whispering against the floor. "Again," she commanded. Her voice sharp. The pressure returned like a tidal wave. Daniel cried out, his body straining against the restraints. The force was stronger this time, burning through him like fire. He bit his tongue, tasted blood, and pushed harder. He shoved the memory of his sister's laughter forward again. He held it with every ounce of strength. The bond snapped open wider. This time he didn't just see, he felt. Her loneliness spread into him, heavy and cold. Behind her power, behind the silver eyes, there was emptiness. An endless silence built over years of being watched, judged, commanded. Serenia gasped, clutching her temples. She ripped herself back, severing the bond. The chamber rang with her scream. Daniel slumped in the chair, panting. Sweat poured down his face. "I saw it again," he whispered hoarsely. Her voice shook with fury. Silence, but she couldn't hide the truth. Her perfect mask had shattered. Her hands trembled openly now. She turned her face away from him, as if ashamed of what he had seen. "You're afraid," Daniel said softly. Her head whipped back, silver eyes blazing. "Do not speak of what you do not understand." "Maybe I don't," he admitted. "But I know fear when I see it. And I know loneliness." Her lips parted, but no words came out. The door opened suddenly. A guard stepped in. "Princess," he said cautiously, "the council requests your report." Serenia straightened instantly, her mask snapping back into place. The trembling stopped. Her silver eyes returned to cold steel. "Tell them I require more time," she said. The guard bowed and withdrew. When the door closed, she turned back to Daniel. For a heartbeat, her mask faltered again. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "If they learn you touched my mind, they will kill you. And they will kill me for weakness." Daniel raised his head, still shaking. "Then you'd better stop underestimating me." Her jaw clenched. She stepped closer, lowering her voice until it was almost a hiss. "Tomorrow, I will break you. I must." But Daniel saw the doubt in her eyes, and for the first time since his capture, he felt a flicker of hope. Not for escape, not yet, but for something else, something bigger. Because if he could reach her mind once, he could do it again, and maybe, just maybe, he could turn her own power against the empire that ruled through fear. The night cycle in the Illyrian ship was silent and false. Lights dimmed to a soft blue, but there were no stars to see, no winds to hear. Daniel lay awake on his bunk, staring at the ceiling. His head throbbed from Serenya's assault, yet his thoughts wouldn't rest. He had seen inside her brief, fragile glimpses of her life. A child carrying a crown too heavy for small shoulders. A ruler trapped in a cage of her own people's pride. For the first time since capture, he felt more than defiance. He felt curiosity. She wasn't just his enemy anymore. She was something more complicated. The door hissed. A guard appeared. "You are called again." Daniel stood without protest. His legs were still heavy, but his jaw was set. As they led him through the long silver corridors, Illyrians watched. Some glanced with cold disdain, others with subtle unease. Whispers spread that a human had resisted Serenya's bond. Already, doubt was cracking the surface. The chamber waited as before, but this time Serenya stood in the center, her robe trailing behind her. The crucible ring sat on the table, glowing faintly like a captured star. Daniel felt its hum in his teeth. She looked at him, her face calm but her eyes tight. "The council demands proof. They want me to use this." She touched the ring lightly. "If I put it on, your mind will break." Daniel swallowed, but he didn't look away. "Then don't." Her lips pressed together. The guards strapped him in again, metal hissing around his wrists and ankles. When they left, Serenya dismissed the ring with a sharp shove, sliding it. Across the table, "No machines," she said. "Only us." Daniel arched a brow. "Why?" "Because I must know," she whispered. "If it is you, or me." The weight struck again, sudden and sharp. Daniel gasped, his head snapping back. The tide of her will filled him, pressing into every corner of his thoughts. But this time, he didn't only defend. He pushed. He felt the bond open wider. Threads of thought became clearer, like paths in a forest. He chose one and touched it carefully. He found not a memory, but a feeling loneliness. Deep, gnawing loneliness hidden under her armor of pride. Serenya stiffened, her breath catching. She tried to drive him back, but he held steady, showing her not attack, but something else. Rain on a roof. Children laughing. A fire crackling in the cold. Her eyes widened, her lips parting as if she wanted to ask a question but couldn't. "This is what keeps us standing," Daniel said hoarsely. "Not chains, not fear, connection." Her mask slipped, just a little. "Connection is weakness," she muttered. But her voice trembled. "Then why does it scare you?" He asked. She struck harder, rage burning in her mind. Images of Illyrian. Fleets filled his skull, cities burning, slaves kneeling. The weight nearly crushed him. His nose bled, his vision blurred. But he forced himself to hold, and then he gave back. Not war, not blood, but sacrifice. Soldiers carrying each other from fire. Strangers lifting rubble to save children. Families rebuilding homes after storms. Her body shook. The bond wavered. For the first time in her life, she felt something. That didn't come from fear or force. She felt choice. Daniel gasped, half smiling through the pain. "See, we don't fight because we must. We fight because we choose to. That's what makes us human." Her eyes glistened faintly, but she blinked the shine away. "Stop," she whispered. "I won't," he said. "Because the truth scares you more than I ever could." Serenya stumbled back, clutching her temples. The chamber shook faintly with the pressure of their duel. Guards outside shifted nervously, but none dared enter. Daniel slumped in the chair, panting. The bond flickered but remained alive, humming between them. He had not broken her, but he had cracked the foundation she stood on. Serenia turned, hiding her face. Her shoulders trembled once before she straightened. "Tomorrow," she said. Softly, "the council will demand your destruction." Daniel's lips curled into a bloody grin. "Then tomorrow will be interesting." Her head snapped back, silver eyes blazing with conflict, pride, fear, and something new she couldn't name. She left the chamber without another word. Daniel sagged in the chair, every nerve on fire, but his heart steady. He hadn't just resisted. He had shown her a piece of humanity, and she hadn't been able to look away. For the first time, Daniel knew this was no longer just survival. This was a war for her soul, and he intended to win. The council chamber aboard the Illyrian flagship was a fortress of silver stone and humming crystal. Elders in long robes stood around a glowing table, their expressions sharp with anger. Serenia walked through their stairs with her head high, though the echo of Daniel's mind still lingered in her own. His memories of rain and laughter clung to her like an itch she could not wash away. "You delay," one elder said, his voice cold as frost. 3 sessions, and the human still lives. Serenia met his gaze. He resists unlike any before him. To rush would risk losing the chance to understand. To understand? Another elder spat. "We do not understand prey. We tame it." His silver eyes narrowed. "Use the crucible." End his defiance before whispers spread. Whispers had already spread. Serenia had seen it in the soldiers' eyes. Doubt, questions. The Illyrian Empire lived on fear, and cracks were appearing. She bowed her head slightly. "I will use it," she lied. When the meeting ended, she left with the crucible ring in her hands. The crystal pulsed like a living heart, feeding on her thoughts. She returned to the chamber where Daniel waited, chained as before. His eyes lifted to hers, tired but steady. "They want me gone, don't they?" he asked. "Yes," she admitted. She placed the ring on the table, its glow filling the room. "They ordered me to use this. With it, I could rip your mind apart in seconds. Then why haven't you?" Daniel asked. Her hands tightened at her sides. She turned away, staring at the walls. "Because I must know the truth. Are humans truly resistant, or am I weaker than I believed?" Daniel studied her carefully. He could see the strain in her shoulders, the tiny tremor in her fingers. She was no longer the perfect mask of Illyrian pride. Something had shifted. "Maybe it's neither," he said. "Maybe it's not about weakness at all. Maybe it's about how you use your power." She faced him sharply. "Power is control. That is what it means to rule." Daniel shook his head. "No, real power is what you choose not to break." The words hit her harder than she wanted to admit. She snapped her hand forward, and the bond slammed into him again. Daniel grunted, his head snapping back, but he steadied himself. The ocean weight pressed, trying to drown him. He clung to the anchors of his memories, shoving them back into the tide. And then the bond shifted again. This time, Serenia's mask cracked wide open. Daniel saw more than flashes. He saw her life. A girl standing alone in vast halls, watched by eyes colder than steel. Elders whispering, "Show no weakness, show no tears. Rule through fear or be ruled." He felt the ache of her loneliness, the hollow crown on her head, the silence of nights where even sleep was forbidden to be soft. Serenia gasped, tearing at the bond, but Daniel didn't push deeper. He simply stood with her in that memory, letting her see his presence. Not a conjurer, not an enemy. Just someone who understood. Her knees bent as she staggered back, hands pressed to her temples. "Stop," she whispered. "You should not see this." Daniel's chest rose and fell with each ragged breath. "Then don't show me." But I didn't take it from you. You let it slip because part of you wanted someone to know. Her silver eyes widened, trembling with a truth she couldn't deny. The pounding at the door broke the silence. A guard's voice called, "Princess, the council demands progress. Activate the crucible, or they will act." Serenia looked at the glowing ring on the table. If she used it, she could destroy Daniel and keep her throne. If she refused, the council would turn on her. Either choice was death. Daniel's voice cut through her turmoil. You don't have to prove anything to them. You've spent your whole life proving yourself. But what if you stopped? Her lips trembled. Stopped? To stop meant to collapse. Everything she had been forced to be. But to continue meant to lose herself forever. The pounding grew louder. Now, princess. Her eyes snapped to Daniel. His face was pale, blood dripping from his nose, yet his gaze held steady. He wasn't afraid of dying. He wasn't afraid of her. He simply looked at her with something she had never seen before. Trust. Slowly she turned from the crucible. She raised her voice. Tell the council I will deliver results in my way. The guard hesitated. But that is an order, she snapped, her voice trembling with steel. The footsteps faded. The door sealed again. Serenia sagged against the table, the glow of the ring burning her eyes. For the first time in her life, she had defied the council. And she knew there would be no turning back. Daniel watched her quietly. You made a choice. Her throat tightened. For now, but tomorrow. He leaned forward, a faint smile cutting through the blood. Tomorrow, we fight. Again, not as enemies. As equals. Her eyes searched his, and she hated that part of her wanted to believe him. The perfect illusion of Illyrian power had shattered. What remained was fragile, dangerous, and unknown. And somewhere deep inside, Serenia felt afraid, not of losing, but of what might happen if she let herself keep listening. The council did not wait long. The next day, Daniel was dragged into the chamber again, wrists bound and blood crusted on his lip. His head pounded from yesterday's battle, but he walked with steady steps. Serenia stood by the table, the crucible ring glowing faintly beside her. Her shoulders were stiff, her chin high, but Daniel saw it, doubt hiding behind her silver eyes. The chamber doors hissed open, and 3 elders entered, robes heavy with woven silver threads. Their eyes cut through the room like blades. Princess. Serenia, the eldest said, you have delayed long enough. This display ends today. They turned their gaze on Daniel. The human resists because you allow it. Use the crucible and prove your worth. Or step aside, and we will finish it for you. The soldiers lining the walls shifted nervously. The rumor had already spread too far. A human who could resist the Illyrian bond. If Serenia failed here, the Empire's greatest weapon would lose its fear. Serenia's fingers twitched at her sides. She glanced at Daniel. He met her gaze, steady and unflinching. No fear, only defiance. She turned back to the council. He is different. To destroy him without understanding is waste. The eldest elder's eyes blazed. To hesitate is weakness. Do it now. When she didn't move, the council raised their hands. Power filled the chamber like a storm. Daniel cried out as the force struck him, sharp as blades slicing into his skull. His knees buckled, and he hit the floor. His vision blurred, his body shaking as if every nerve was on fire. Daniel! Serenia shouted. Without thinking, she stepped in front of him, her arms spread wide. The full weight of the council's power slammed into her. Pain tore through her chest. She gasped, staggered, but did not fall. The elders sneered. Even. You cannot shield him forever. Step aside or break with him. Serenia's voice shook, but her stance held. No, the bond flared open. Daniel latched onto it, desperate. He poured himself into it, not weapons, not hatred, but memories. His father's hand steadying him on a bike. his mother's soft humming while washing dishes, his sister's laugh when rain soaked them both on a summer day. Serenia gasped as the images filled her. The pain did not vanish, but something else joined it. Warmth, strength. She felt his family, as if they were her own, and for the first time, the storm pressing down on her chest loosened. "What is this?" she whispered through the bond. Daniel's voice was hoarse, broken, but steady. "It's what makes us human. We don't fight alone. We carry each other. That's our strength." The elders roared in fury, pressing harder. But now Serenia did not stand alone. Daniel pushed beside her, his memories wrapping around her like armor. She saw through his eyes soldiers dragging comrades out of fire, strangers pulling rubble off children, humans giving their lives not for power but for each other. The bond surged brighter. Together they pushed back. The eldest elder staggered, his face pale. "Impossible," Daniel gritted his teeth. Blood ran from his nose and ears, but he didn't let go. "You call it weakness. We call it choice. And choice is stronger than fear," Serenia cried out, her silver eyes glowing like fire. For the first time, she felt something Illyrians had never known, not domination, not obedience, but trust. Their bond was no longer a weapon. It was a bridge. The storm cracked. The elders stumbled, clutching their heads as the bond's force repelled them. The chamber shook, lights flickering. Soldiers along the walls whispered in shock. The council fell back, pale and furious. Their voices broke with disbelief. "This cannot be. A human cannot do this. No one can." Serenia straightened, her chest heaving. "Then believe it, because I felt it. He showed me what your fear never could." The soldiers began lowering their weapons, their eyes shifting with doubt. The council looked around and saw the crack spreading too far. Daniel collapsed to one knee, gasping, but he lifted his head. "You wanted to know what humans are? We're not stronger because we crush others. We're stronger because we choose not to." Serenia looked down at him, her heart hammering. In that moment, she understood. He hadn't broken her. He had freed her. The council staggered toward the exit, furious and broken. Their last words echoed as they fled. "You will destroy us all." The chamber fell silent. Serenia turned to Daniel. Her silver eyes were wet, her mask gone forever. "You gave me something my people never did." Daniel's voice cracked. "What's that?" Her lips trembled. "A choice." Asterisk, the chamber still pulsed with the echo of power. Sparks crackled in the walls where the council's fury had struck. Serenia stood trembling, the crucible ring at her feet. Around her, soldiers stared, caught between fear of the elders and the shock of what they had witnessed. A human had not only resisted, but had fought beside their princess as an equal. Daniel leaned against the table, his body battered, his breath ragged. Yet his eyes burned with the same steady defiance. He had nothing left to prove. His very survival was proof enough. The silence broke when a soldier whispered, "Is it true? The human resisted the bond?" Another answered, louder this time. "More than resisted. He fought them back." Murmurs spread, weapons lowered. For the first time, Illyrian soldiers questioned the fear that had chained them all their lives. The doors hissed open. The three elders reappeared, their faces pale with rage. "Do not listen," the eldest roared. "This is a trick. The human poisons your minds. He must die, and the princess with him, if she refuses." But the words no longer carried the same. "Wait." The soldiers shifted, uneasy, no longer certain. Serenia stepped forward. Her robe swayed as she lifted her chin. "No, he does not poison us. He has shown us what true strength is." She turned, facing the soldiers instead of the elders. "All our lives we were told power means domination. That ruling means breaking others. But today, I learned power is what you choose not to break." The words spread through the chamber like fire. The soldiers froze, staring at her with wide eyes. They had been raised to believe their rulers flawless, unshakable. Yet here stood their princess, admitting doubt, and they felt something far more dangerous than fear. They felt hope. The eldest elder snarled, "You betray the empire." His hand lifted, silver energy gathering to strike. Before he could unleash it, two soldiers stepped between him and Serenia, their rifles raised not at the human, but at the council. The chamber erupted. More soldiers lowered their weapons at first, then one by one, they turned their aim toward the elders. Daniel pushed himself upright, swaying, but smiling faintly. "Looks like they've made their choice." The elders' eyes flared with fury. But even they could feel it. The bond of fear was gone. Their voices had lost their grip. They fled in a rush of robes, their threats echoing down the hall. Serenia sagged against the table, her breath shaky. The crucible ring lay at her feet. Forgotten. She bent down, picked it up, and hurled it against the wall. It shattered into glittering shards. "No more," she whispered. "Never again." The soldiers erupted into cheers, some hesitant, some fierce. The sound filled the chamber, echoing into the corridors beyond. Word would spread faster than any fleet. The council's rule, built on fear, had just collapsed. Serenia turned to Daniel. Her silver eyes shimmered with exhaustion and something softer. "You've changed everything. Do you realize what you've done?" Daniel gave a rough laugh. "Not me, us." Her lips curved into a trembling smile. "Us," she repeated. For the first time in her life, Serenia felt free, not because she had crushed someone beneath her will, but because she had chosen something else entirely. The bond still hummed faintly between them, no longer a battlefield, but a bridge. She whispered, "We thought humans were fragile. But you're kind. You are the strongest I've ever seen. Not because you cannot be broken, but because even when broken, you still choose to stand." Daniel straightened, bloodied but unbowed. "Then maybe it's time the galaxy learns that lesson." The soldiers knelt, first a few, then more, until the chamber was filled with the sight of Illyrians bowing not to fear, not to domination, but to choice. Serenia stood tall, her voice carrying clear. "The age of chains is over. From this day forward, the Illyrian Empire will not rule through fear. We will rise with strength that comes from trust, not control." The chamber roared with voices, a tide of sound that would sweep across the stars. Daniel closed his eyes for a moment, letting the sound wash over him. He had come here as a prisoner, certain he would die. Instead, he had torn open the heart of an empire. When he opened them again, Serenia was watching him, not as a queen, not as a conqueror, as someone who had been broken and chose to stand. And together, under the silver lights of the chamber, they began a new chapter the galaxy had never seen before. Not the rule of fear, not the silence of chains, but the rise of something far more dangerous: humanity's gift of choice.